Jana Sukriti Norjuna.
So what meaning is for this? Chaturvidha, 4 kinds of bhajante, render service, ma, anjuni, jana, persons, sukritina, those who are pious, Arjun, O Arjun, Artha, the distressed, Jidyasu, the inquisitive, Artha, Arthi, one who desires material gain, Jnani, one who knows things as they are, Cha, also, Bharata, Rishabha, a great one amongst the descendants of Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritina, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the Absolute Truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotion service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. So we'll have a small discussion on this, and then we'll have a long discussion on Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's come? It's come? That book has come? Okay. My particular reason for choosing this section, I'm reading this book Bhakti Bhava by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and I like the way he gave a very contemporary understanding of these 4 kinds of people. So we begin with Prabhupada saying, unlike the miscreants. Obviously it means these miscreants have been described before, which happens to be in the previous verse, where Krishna says, Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. That 4 kinds of people do not come to me. And who are they? Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Here, Krishna says, who comes to him and for what purpose? Prabhupada is explaining here that they are not pure devotees, because pure devotion service is without any aspiration. So these are people who, and we could be all at least searching in our own hearts, we can find that we did come from this pool. The fact is we have come to Krishna, and the fact is we have been offered pure devotional service. Our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, they have never practiced mixed devotional service. What they have done is pure. But they have accommodated others who may have at certain time in their lives shown some desires, or who may fall in any of these categories. Now, by the way, we give examples for these 4 categories, and they don't seem to be simple materialistic people, like for Artharthi, we give the example of Dhruva Maharaj. And now suddenly you can't call him a materialistic person, because Lord Chaitanya used to hear the stories of Dhruva and Prahlad again and again and again and again and again. He never got tired of that. So, how do we understand where we stand, and when we give Krishna's message, what do we do with this kind of a query? If somebody says, I have a material desire, what do I do with that? Do we say, unless you are pure, don't even bother coming to Krishna? Or we can say that, yeah, whatever you want, Krishna will give you. And we may have this doubt, what if he doesn't? So, how Krishna sees this particular situation is very nicely presented by Prabhupada in this purport, and we will try to see that as far as possible. So Prabhupada gives the highest ideal, which is pure devotional service. Obviously, why? Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1111 defines pure devotion thus: Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably, anukul, and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is jnana karmadi anavritam. That is called pure devotional service. Now it is interesting, what happens to these people who come to Krishna? When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, miscreants are those described in the previous verse. For them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotion service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or His pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with such spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. So Devamat Maharaj, he calls the Artha as a materially exhausted person, which we sometimes call fried out in our language. Material nature literally fries you in various situations. And a person may not have a clue as to what's to be done. At that time, if by good fortune, if someone says, you come to Krishna and ask from him. In fact, I know a person who had come to Mumbai, must be in 50s or 60s from his village, and for many, many weeks and months, he could not find a job, he could not find a place to live. So, in frustration, he saw on the footpath one fellow with a parrot. I don't see them, many of them nowadays, but so he asked him that, can your parrot tell me when I would get my desires fulfilled? So he said, you approach him with faith and he will. So he gave him his fee, which was like 50 paise or 1 rupee at that time. And the parrot goes and he picks up one card. And it said, Kaam ho jayega. You will get your desires fulfilled. So he said, after that, I became somewhat of a believer in God or some kind of higher power. So, the individual living entity's faith is so fragile, and it can actually be established on anything under the sun. Sometimes we find people accept a mere mortal as God. How did he become God? Well, he gave me this benediction, or he did this for me, or did that for me. Because at a particular time when you are so materially distressed, you are so exhausted, that if anything works, in fact we find when we read the Lilamrit, Srila Prabhupada appeared on the scene when the hippie movement was at its peak, and it was almost as if it was a ready-made situation for him. Prabhupada did not, like we sometimes before going to some program, we try to understand the proper contours, what kind of people, whether they are inquisitive, they like question answers or this or that. Prabhupada didn't have any of this kind of a opportunity. But we read in his Jaladuta prayers that he was praying fervently to Krishna that you sit on my tongue and you make my words understandable to them. In fact, it is so difficult. Sometimes Prabhupada had to just tell, there is I don't remember the exact incident, but at one point of time Prabhupada said, this Maha Mantra is the only thing I have. If you feel it doesn't work, what can I do? This is the only thing I have, and please accept it. And initially when people would ask, will chanting Hare Krishna give me this or give me that? Prabhupada said, yes, you'll have everything. For this Artharthi, Prabhupada gives this story of a common robber, a thief, and most possibly he was in danger of being caught, and he was running away from one incident, and he came across this kind of a satsang, and he just quietly sat there. The people who were looking up for him, they went away, but he kept on listening, because the speaker started talking of a very nice place, bank of a river. There are plenty of cows, and there's only one boy looking after this herd of cows. He has a lot of ornaments on his body. So till the time he was talking of land, cows, rivers, cows and other things, he was not actually attentive. But then when he heard only one boy and completely bedecked with ornaments, so he said, if I can get this kind of job done, then I don't need to run around here and there possibly for a year or more. The katha over, he goes to the Pandit and says, where is this place? So he says, it's Vrindavan. How do I go there? It's near Mathura. Who is this boy? So he says, some call him Govind, some call him Gopal. Are you sure he's alone? He said, yes. Are you sure he has all ornaments? He said, yes. So Vrindavan, Mathura, Govind, Gopal. These are the 4 key words he remembers. And all the time he is chanting, and let's see if he might forget that. And then he goes there, Now Krishna responds to your motivation more clearly to the intensity of your motivation. So somehow it reaches Mathura, then he comes to Vrindavan, and as he is nearing this place, his intensity also is heightened, and he actually comes face to face with this small coward boy. So he says, now that I have come so close, I shouldn't be, making any false moves. So he goes before Krishna and says, you are very nice. Prabhupada 2-3 times gives a little bit of a small twist in this story. And he says, your ornaments are very nice. So Krishna says, my mother put them on me. He says, will you give them to me? He says, no, she will be angry. Now this is a simple kind of a conversation. It's not a big, heavy philosophical discussion going on here. But by this small interaction, his heart becomes purified. All of a sudden, he decides, I don't need anything. So this is one instance of someone coming to Krishna, asking for something, having something in mind, and then when he gets Krishna, whether it's darshan or whether the realization, you get the feeling that I actually don't need this. Dhruva Maharaj basically captures the mood by saying, by getting your darshan, I feel as if I have achieved a rare diamond. Tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam. You are so rare, even the demigods and Munindra, best of the philosophically astute rishis, they can't get you. But somehow I achieved your darshan. Kachan vichinvan api divya ratnam. I feel as if my aspiration was like a broken piece of glass. But now I have divya ratnam. And the last line is very important. Swamin kritartho asmi. Artharthi is one who wants a material goal. Krita artha. My objective is fulfilled. And then he adds, Varam na yache. Don't give me what I came here for. Now why would Krishna not give? There's a very interesting thing. Those who are distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are curious, like I see a lot of college students here. So, I don't know, but at least 2-3 decades ago, college hostels, there would be, especially science students, they would try to do some planchette. Heard of it? Or a Ouija board, trying to contact with spirits. Nowadays, getting a job is so difficult that the only thing you have in mind is, when do I get out of this and when do I get a job? But at least in some cases, there are people who are interested in the paranormal. There are magazines and there are newspaper articles regularly coming about something which is not normal. And that makes someone think as to, is there something beyond this world, or do our laws of physics actually describe everything what we have? Again, Devamrita Swami Maharaj had written an article about certain organisms which were living at temperatures of 600 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a backward article saying, what's happening at 600 degrees Fahrenheit? So these organisms, bacteria or even smaller than them, they were living, they were reproducing, they were having their community life and everything. So his point was, this world is so variegated. But we are nowadays trying to just think in terms of the way we live, and whether if these living conditions are not there everywhere, then there could be no life in other places also. But no, that's a very, very narrow kind of way of looking at things. So people become curious. And curious people have by dint of being curious, they have to have some open mind. So, no matter where you stand, among them, the Jnani is singled out as a little bit special, which we'll see briefly because that's another verse where Krishna says, one who comes to me with knowledge that I am the Supreme Lord and he should be my devotee. He is the best among them. But doesn't mean those who come are in any way inferior. The very notion that they have come to Krishna gives Krishna immense pleasure. So we'll go to the Dhruva Maharaj story where Dhruva is telling Lord Narayan, he saw the four-armed form, that don't give me any benediction. And the Lord says, no, take it. You will get your post, the position which you wanted, plus you rule for something like 36,000 years, plus you will have a benediction that none of your senses will ever go slack or you will experience old age or disease. I was asking this question to someone like, aren't we supposed to refuse whatever Krishna gives? Isn't that the definition of pure devotional service? So why the Lord insisted that you take? We know that there are examples like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Kolavecha Sridhar, he refused the benediction. But what did he refuse? He refused that I need to be given suzerainty over a kingdom, give me kingship or a royal palace. No. But he did ask something. Kolavecha Sridhar was such a pure soul that he did ask something. And what he asked was, this Nimai Pandit, this arrogant scholar, should come to my, I don't think it was a shop or something, must have been just a small stool on which he would be keeping his banana leaves and cups and other things. He should come to me every day and he should bargain with me about the price, and after a lot of haggling, for more than an hour at least, then he can buy whatever he wants. That was his rasa, that was the thing which he wanted. So obviously, Lord Chaitanya's devotees, they are of a very high order. But then, the explanation is given, what about ordinary people like you and me, or at least me? If you feel that Krishna consciousness means you go before the Lord, you ask for something, when He gives you, you refuse it. You may say, what's the point in asking them? So, these four, they act like Krishna's advertisers. Prabhupada says here very clearly, sometimes distressed, sometimes curious, sometimes knowledgeable. You see? So when, even if it is a sometime thing, even if it is a very rare thing and they come to Krishna, in fact the Acharyas, they give such a nice gloss over this. This is there in the Burijan Prabhu's book, Surrender Unto Me. That when Krishna sees somebody coming with artha goal, or a jigyasu, maybe just check out what the Hare Krishnas are doing. I've heard so much noise coming from this particular place. Let me see what do they do. He says, as this person is approaching me, I'm already making plans how to satisfy him. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives this gloss on what is Krishna's mentality. Why? There could be a chance that somebody has a disease, somebody has some skin problem, he comes to Krishna. Somebody has a heart problem, he comes to Krishna. Somebody has some stomach problem, he comes to Krishna. And after that problem is solved, there is a danger that he might forget who solved it. Is it not? Depending upon your maturity, you might come before Krishna, like I think Radhanath Maharaj gave the example. The Apollo mission was in danger. Of course, every mission was having some kind of danger, but this was in real danger. Their 3 astronauts were in that space capsule. They had been pushed out of space out of gravitational pull. They were revolving around the earth, and as they were attempting re-entry, some minor glitch, some minor fault was proving to be so dangerous that for a few seconds the temperature would be like a blasting furnace and they all will die. It could be for a few seconds only. And they were approaching re-entry and they were trying to fix it. And somehow some hatch or something was not opening. Now these people are in this central control room and they are sending distress signals. The astronauts there are not knowing what to do. So at that time, the President of the United States issued a summons saying that everybody please pray. And they actually were praying. Church bells were tolling all the time. And people were told that please pray, please pray. So people prayed. It is a Artha situation. People kept on praying, praying hard. At the appointed time, just before that particular time, that hatch somehow opened, something was fixed, they made their entry, and they were picked up from the ocean, and they gave their interviews and everything was nice. And the scientists said, we did it. And they had a whole lengthy explanation how they did it. That we tried this and this thing failed, but at the last moment someone did this. But what about that prayer? Someone could ask them, I think you all forgot that at one point of time you could not do anything about it. So this is the danger for someone, like you come to Krishna with a scant amount of piety, and then there is every danger you might feel, actually I did it, or it was my luck. But from Krishna's point of view, the moment somebody comes, is very happy. And when they come, the more pious among them, when they go out and say, the Lord is very kind. He actually gave me what I wanted. Of course, I am not so happy now because like whatever you have, if it is material, it's perishable. And you might not... How many times have we got something what we wanted and later we said, well, it's not exactly gorgeous looking. Like we buy something at the shop. It was so nice there. But now that we put on, and we find kind of faded a little bit here and there or whatever. So this is the problem with going to Krishna with material desires. We always get a second thought that this is not exactly what I wanted. I'll finish off by reading the last paragraph. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. This is explained when, like a small example, a king once decided that I want to give people whatever they would like, land, cloth, money, gold, silver, whatever. So all the poor people came and they kept on asking for this or that. It was up to a certain time of the day. As the time was approaching, the king asked the minister that, is everybody satisfied? So he said, yes, practically there is nobody now, so we can retire, we can go back to your palace. Then someone came and said, there's an old woman. She's just so old, frail, she's just walking slowly. I think she's walking in this direction, so maybe she wants something. So the king says, all right, we'll wait. The woman took a long time. She came and the king said, yes, what can I do for you? She said only one thing. I want you to accept me as your mother. So the king said, how do I do that? Just call me mother and accept me as that. And what else? Nothing. And she went. So the king was puzzled for some time. How can I satisfy her? She just wanted me to call her mother, like I am her son. Now after some days, slowly the news filtered and everybody came to know that the king has accepted this old lady as his mother. So the minister said, Your Majesty, there is something I would like to tell you. He said, yes. Everybody is saying that she is your mother now. So how can she stay there? She is living in that old hut. She has a small land, one cow. She keeps on working with those kind of tools, with those kind of animals. So the king said, what am I supposed to do then? He said, she is your mother. You have to bring her here. So he said, all right, it's not a big pressure on me. So he calls her. And then, obviously she can't wear these kind of clothes. So the king said, give her then something nice. Give her ornaments. So the point is, those who came for some land got that land. But now they have to maintain it. Those who came for some gold got that gold. But after some time, maybe it is sold, maybe it is this. It didn't increase for sure. But she was the most intelligent of all. She didn't ask for anything. But now she has the king who is thinking, what am I supposed to do for her now? So the example is that we come to Krishna with a very specific kind of a desire. And Krishna fulfills that. But then we have to now maintain it. We have to manage it. We have to understand whether this was the right decision or not. But those, although it sounds difficult, although it sounds very like surgically precise, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, Srila Prabhupada has shown how to begin the path of pure devotional service. In fact, this is that rare gift. In fact, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also appeared to give something which was not given for a long time. Anarpitam charim chirat. Only out of his compassion he came and he gave this pure devotional service, the seeds of which are sown by the simple chanting of the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. I'll stop here. I'd like to request Krishnanand Prabhu to kindly give the actual class.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances to all the assembled devotees. I just came in and I was entering with the prayer that let me find a good place to sit. I think Krishna has fulfilled my desire. Actually, what Shyamanand Prabhu was saying, that about praying to God, when it is, especially the last lecture which Maharaj is delivering before his leaving the country, devotees from all over have come to hear, and at that time, if you are asked to sit, it's really very important to pray. No qualification. Yesterday I was fortunate to be with Maharaj in Nigdi. And I thought some little things which I remember, I'll try to repeat. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was speaking on the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, the story of Prithu Maharaj. Of course, what I'm speaking is just a small thing. I would suggest those who like to see the actual video or the audio. Maharaj was explaining about how the most difficult things in life, they finally lead to the most wonderful things. And as most of you may be familiar with the story of Prithu Maharaj, how he was, born from the body of King Vena, going back from King Anga. And then after Maharaj Vena he was the king, but he was very cruel. And finally the sages decided to curse him, and he was killed, he died. And then there was no king. So there has to be some king. So the sages, they churned the body of King Vena, and Prithu Maharaj appeared. So whatever happens in a devotee's life, there is always a brighter side of how to look upon it. Maharaj was explaining one story from his life, how he happened to go through some place and he fell off a cliff, and he was rolling down for a long time until he came, and it was in the middle of the night, and it happened to be something like Amavasya. So there was no moonlight, no torchlight, no mobiles at that time. So practically he was lost, and he could hear some sound of animals, and some animal passing by very nearby. Could be a dangerous animal like a snake or a tiger. And at that time I was thinking, the only thing, the hope was that after a few hours the sun will rise. And when the sun rises, I will find my way out, and then I will climb up. In other words, as a devotee makes progress in his or her Krishna consciousness, there are dark times, there are difficulties, but eventually everything works out for the good of Krishna's devotee. If you always know that Krishna is our best friend and is always with us, guiding us, then we are always hopeful. Krishna's mercy is the hope for the hopeless. I was explaining the word Karuna Sindhu. Krishna is Karuna Sindhu, is the ocean of mercy. And then Maharaj was explaining one incident from his life, which I think he spoke here, this was a few years back, when Maharaj was returning from London to Bombay, and he was on this flight by British Airways, and he, as they were flying, sometime before landing, there was an, announcement. Of course, I can't make all those. Maharaj did very graphical sounds. My speech is just a small advertisement so that you can listen to his lecture. So Maharaj was explaining how there was sirens going on, and there's an announcement made in the flight that we are sorry to say, but this plane is totally out of control. That is, we have to make an emergency landing. We don't know where we'll land, how we'll land, and those of you who are strong, they please come near the emergency exit. You can help. In fact, one of Maharaj's acquaintances was near Maharaj, but they asked him to come near the emergency exit. In case there is some danger, he can help to pull people out of the calamity. So Maharaj said, at that time I was, with full attention, taking shelter of the holy name. I was crying out to Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, earlier also Maharaj spoke about this, and Maharaj was explaining, generally when I come to Bombay, I am thinking about, all the different plans on how to improve the temple. As you know, Radha Gopinath temple, it's a very dynamic temple, and in construction also. So Maharaj said, but at that time I was not thinking of anything else. Maharaj said, these were some of the best rounds I ever chanted in my life. And then he explained how he was offering beautiful prayers to the Lord, because he was thinking that this could be the last moment of my life. And children were crying, and even elderly people, they were also panicking here and there, and there was distress. And finally the plane, they said it's an emergency landing. So they had to all put their head in between their feet, and the plane landed at about 300 miles per hour, which is much faster than the normal speed of landing, and it just came and just bounced off after touching the ground, went up and down like it was. And then Maharaj saw from the window there were, ambulances and people with hoses ready to help, about 50 or 60 different vehicles. And the plane stopped. But then there was an announcement that we have still not come out of danger. Maharaj was continuing to chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it was announced that there's still a possibility that the plane might explode. So, everybody was advised to just be where they are, and after some time, plane made a move and towards the terminal, and then there was an announcement that now we have successfully landed into Chhatrapati Shivaji Airport, Mumbai. And sorry for the slight inconveniences. And such things are common in aviation circles, and we hope that you will again choose British Airways. So Maharaj was explaining that because of this experience, I always choose British Airways. Anyway, the essential point which Maharaj was explaining is how, in all situations, one has to actually take shelter of Krishna's holy name. And we see this in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. How a devotee is one who is always taking shelter of the holy name. Bhaktivedanta Thakur says in his song, Sukhe dukhe bhule nako, vadane hari naam bolore. Whether in happiness or in distress, just take shelter of the holy name. Because the situations of life which we go through, they are not really under our control. We are simply puppets being controlled by Krishna through material nature. But if we take advice of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, in all situations we can take shelter of Krishna in the form of the holy name. There's a story in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's one great devotee whose name was Gopinath Patnayaka. And Gopinath Patnaik is actually one of the eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is one of the 5 Pandavas. As you know, Bhavananda Rai is Maharaj Pandu, and the 5 sons of Pandu were Arjun, Yudhishthir, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev. They appeared as Gopinath Patnaik, Vaninath Rai, Kalanidhi, Sudhanidhi, and Ramananda Rai. And it so happened that Gopinath Patnaik was involved in some financial matters, and he had not paid to the king the amount which he was supposed to pay. He was supposed to collect some money and deposit it with the king. And it was found out that he had made this mistake. And as a result, the son of the king, Purushottam, he ordered that Gopinath Patnaik should be given capital punishment. He would be thrown onto the changa. In those times, there was something called a changa, a rotating platform. It would go round, 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 and there were naked swords. And the person who was supposed to be punished was thrown off, and he was just completely killed. So all the devotees who were knowing Gopinath Patnaik, they came to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and prayed, Mahaprabhu, please help, your devotee is in danger. So Lord Chaitanya asked, what is the matter? And then the devotees explained that Gopinath Patnayaka, he was supposed to deposit some money, and instead he used it for his personal use. And hence the king, king's son has ordered that he should be given this punishment. So actually it is explained that Gopinath Patnayaka, he offered that yes, I have to pay this money, I don't have this money, but I have some few horses. You can accept these horses, and after some time, the rest of the money I can pay in installment. He told this to the son of the king. But Purushottam, the son of King Prataprudra, he made a very low estimate of the horses. let us say the horse would be costing about 50,000. He said, this is just worth 500 or something like this. So Gopinath Patnayaka, he became very upset. So he told that my horses, they are very good horses. This Purushottam, the son of King Prataparudra, he had one idiosyncrasy. As he would be speaking or looking, he would move his neck around like this. Krishna spoke in the Bhagavad Gita, something like that. So Gopinath Patnaik said, my horses, they are very good. They do not turn around their neck like you do. And this was a big insult. See, Purushottam, King Prataparudra's son, was a great Kshatriya. We find in the history of Odisha that King Prataparudra had, in fact, many battles, even not only with King Nawab Hussain Shah on the northern side, but also with the rulers of Andhra who were from the Hindu background also. A Kshatriya cannot tolerate insults. So he became very angry. So he said, okay, you are not paying it properly, just you will be given this punishment. So all the devotees came to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked for help. Lord Chaitanya said, I am a sannyasi. I am supposed to chant Hare Krishna here. I have not come to offer financial help. I cannot help. And then the devotees came again and again. They said, Gopinath Patnaik is your devotee. How can you just neglect him? Lord Chaitanya said, I am a sannyasi. I cannot go to the king and beg alms. A sannyasi is allowed to beg alms. But how much can he beg? In those times, sometimes the sannyasi would ask for as much money as is needed to get prasad for one time. So, I cannot go and say, oh, I want money, 2 lakh rupees for one meal, So I cannot ask. Then when again the devotees asked for help, then Lord Chaitanya said, why are you asking me again and again? Go to Lord Jagannath. He can help you. And the words used are kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum. The Lord Jagannath, he can do anything and he can undo anything. Of course, we know Jai Gaura Say Krishna, Jai Jagannath. That's come to me, but not directly. Go to Jagannath through the agency of Jagannath. So, devotees praying to Lord Jagannath. In the meanwhile, one of the officers of the king, whose name was Harichandan went and he told to the king, what is going on here? Gopinath Patnaik has served you loyally for so many years. He has made a mistake, no doubt. He has taken some of the money of the royal treasury. But its mistake is not so much that he should be given this kind of punishment. Besides, if you give him this punishment, if he is killed, you will not get anything. At least now he is offering the horses and is promising to pay gradually. The king replied, I never ordered that he should be killed. All I asked him was that somehow the money should be retrieved. So, immediately go and stop it. So, Harichandan went, and as just Gopinath Patnaik was about to be thrown on the changa, and Harichandan stopped, said, the king has ordered that he should not be punished in this way. Immediately an appointment was arranged with the king, and the king asked Gopinath Patnaik, what is your plan? How do you plan to repay the money? And Gopinath Patnaik explained that I have these horses, you can take the horses and then I will pay the rest of it later. But your son wanted to punish me, so what could I do? Immediately the matter was solved. When Lord Chaitanya got the news, he was very happy. And he asked, in that condition, when Gopinath Patnayaka was about to be thrown on the changa, what was he doing? And the reply was that he was chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Factually, everybody of us, everybody in this material world is more or less on the changa. Changa also means very good, but this changa is not good. There's always danger. Whether you're on British Airways or Air India or Go Air or Indian Rail or 2-foot rail, just walking. Just yesterday I was in Nigdi and one of the devotees' son, he was driving a motorcycle and he had a very severe accident. He was bleeding all over his body. There's always danger everywhere. And even if you say, okay, I will not go by British Airs, I'll just go by train. There are train accidents. Okay, I will not go by train, I'll just go by car. There are car accidents. Say, I will just walk. You may be walking very safely, but somebody may lovingly come to you. You have no choice. If you say, okay, I will not go anywhere, I'll just lie down, you may have a very sweet heart attack. So there's no safe place. This material world is padam padam yad vipadam. So whether one is in Grihastha ashram or Brahmachari ashram, whether one is a king or whether one is a pauper, the only safe course of action is to take shelter of Krishna's holy name. Bhaktivedanta Thakur explains it like this. Enechi aushadhi maya nashi baro lagi hari nama maha mantra lao tumi magi. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, I have brought this medicine, the holy name. Just the day before yesterday, Radhanath Swami Maharaj was speaking very beautifully in Pune, a gathering of several thousands of devotees in Kondwa. And he was explaining that how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he compares himself to a gardener or to a fruit vendor. He says that I have grown so many fruits and I want to distribute these fruits. But I am alone. How can I distribute? I need the help of each one of you. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought the fruits of love of God, the fruits of Krishna Prem. Krishna Prem to Krishna Nam. He has brought a garland of the holy name and that of Krishna, of the holy name and love of Krishna. And he wants to garland the whole world with this garland. So we are fortunate that Lord Chaitanya, although he can do everything in a moment, is giving us this service to assist him, to assist his dear Senapati, to his dear pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, in distributing this fruit of love of God. And Maharaj was so beautifully explaining in the lecture in Pune of how devotees from different backgrounds should unite together. That day it so happened that the garland which was given to Maharaj was little strange, mysterious, as Maharaj was saying. It was different colored. So Maharaj was showing this garland and saying, just like there are different colors, blue colored and yellow colored and white, but they are united by the thread. So similarly, devotees coming from different backgrounds, different ashrams, different languages, they are united by the thread of the holy name, the thread of being children of the same Lord. So Maharaj was then graphically in detail explaining the story of Narottam Das Thakur. How Narottam Das Thakur hailed from a very royal family. He was the son of Krishnanand Datta, who was the king, and he left everything to go to Vrindavan. In fact, Narottam Das Thakur was such a great soul that even before his arrival, Lord Chaitanya was crying out, Narottam, Narottam. Lord Chaitanya told the river Padma that I am depositing my love of Krishna. I'm keeping this love and when Narottam comes, you can give this love. Padma river inquired, how will I know who is Narottam? And the Lord explained that that great personality, upon his arrival, your water will flood up. That person is Narottam. So, many years back, in the year 2003, we had a yatra to Mayapur. And after the Mayapur yatra, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj, with some of our senior devotees from Radha Gopinath temple and also Pune Radha Kunja Bihari temple, we had gone to Bangladesh. I was also fortunate to be there. And Maharaj actually took us to the place Kheturi, where Narottam Das Thakur was born and where he performed his pastime before he left for Vrindavan. So Maharaj promised us that he will speak. The morning we were supposed to speak, but then Maharaj said, maybe we'll speak a little later. First we went to Premtali, the actual place where Lord Chaitanya deposited his love, the river Padma. And we were fortunate to go and take bath there with the association of Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And then after that, it was time for class, but Maharaj said we'll begin the class a little later. So then we had lunch prasad. So the Bhagavatam class began at 3:30 in the afternoon. And then so we were hoping that, okay, maybe 1 hour, 2 hour, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. So the historic class. And we were having a class in a small tent. And that place where the class was, the place where we were supposed to take rest also, so we could not go anywhere. Of course, the class was it was filled with so much details, we were absorbed, but of course with our limited conditioned mind, and Maharaj was explaining details, and it went on to 9:30. Finally, we ended at about 10 o'clock. So it was almost 6 hours class. If you have not listened, please, it's there in our tape ministry, this short Bhagavatam class. So Maharaj is explaining much more detail there, but in the lecture in Pune, he was explaining in short how Narottam travelled all the way to Vrindavan, and there he was advised to take shelter of Lokanath Goswami. And Lokanath Goswami was so humble, he really did not want to accept any disciples. A true Guru never wants disciple. Maharaj was explaining in one earlier lecture that generally people think that to have disciples is like some great achievement, something which you can hanker for. But actually to accept disciples is actually a burden. Of course the Guru accepts it out of love for his Guru, but he was saying that all other people's problems become your problem. So Lokanath Goswami did not want to accept any disciple. But Narottam Das Thakur, he requested again and again, said, no, I cannot accept any disciple. Finally, Narottam Das Thakur decided that I will serve Lokanath Goswami. And not in a very visible way, but he served in a very hiding. He was hiding behind. Lokanath Goswami would go daily to answer nature's call, and after that, Narottam Das Thakur would come, and he would come and clean up and make the place very clean for the next day. And one day Lokanath Goswami was thinking, who is this person who is doing this service? He was hiding behind the bushes. And when he saw Narottam doing this work, a very, very menial service, he was very surprised. He said, Narottam, you are a prince. You are not supposed to do these kind of services. But Narottam Das Thakur explained that my only wealth is service to you. You can get inspiration from the life of Narottam. That devotee's life is just service. Any service, anywhere, in any form. Just like when we see the deities, so today the deities are wearing blue clothes, sometimes they are wearing red clothes, sometimes wearing green. And we are pleased to see the deity in the form in which they appear. You cannot say, oh, why, my Lord, why are you wearing blue? I like red. So the Lord says, you clean the toilet, and you cannot say, oh no, I would like to distribute books. The Lord says, distribute books, and you cannot say, I would like to eat prasad. Of course, eating prasad is common, and that is needed. So this was in one other lecture Maharaj was explaining. I'm just combining different lectures. So, Narottam Das Thakur, by his humble attitude, pleased Lokanath Goswami so much that Lokanath Goswami decided that I will accept him. And he did not accept any other disciple. That was the only disciple. Later on, Narottam, Shyamananda and Srinivas Acharya, all three of them studied under Jiva Goswami. They were disciples of different Guru, but they were working under one Shiksha Guru. Just like in our ISKCON society, we have disciples of different disciples of Prabhupada initiating. So most of us are grand disciples of Prabhupada. So we may be disciples of different Guru, but we have Srila Prabhupada as our center point, uniting the entire society of ISKCON. So after their studies, as you know the story, they took these books on bullock carts. And then the books were lost for some time. And then later Narottam Das Thakur, he went to Kheturi. And his cousin brother was Santosh Dutt. So Maharaj was telling this story to illustrate that point, that Santosh Dutt was his cousin brother. And Santosh Dutt was in the Grihastha ashram. And Narottam was a pure renunciate. But both of them jointly were working together for the pleasure of the Lord. So in Vaishnava culture, this principle of working together to please Krishna is very important. We see in the life of the Vaishnavas in Sri Khanda. In Sri Khanda, there were devotees like Mukunda, Raghunandan, his son, Narahari, later on Lochan Das Thakur, and they were all from varied backgrounds. And one day Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invited he called and he told Mukunda, your service is to earn material and spiritual wealth. And then he told Raghunandan to help in the worship of the deity. And he told Narahari to be with him in Puri and then also help in preaching. So in the purport there, Srila Prabhupada explains that these are three main services. In a society, different devotees may be doing different services, but we are united. Some are engaged in earning wealth for serving the Lord. Some are engaged in worshipping the Lord in the temple directly. And some are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness. But the common principle is to be united for pleasing Krishna. Maharaj was also explaining in the lecture in Pune one important point about how not to criticize devotees. In great detail, more than 15-20 minutes, Maharaj was speaking about this point. That one should be very careful not to criticize devotees. Sometimes there may be constructive criticism that may be allowed. But by and large, one should be very careful. In fact, in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he says it's with such, there are few points where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I raise my arms and declare. Like for Trinadapi Sunichena, he says. And here he says, I raise my arms and declare that anybody who follows these two principles, first is to never criticize devotees. Even if you cannot praise, even if you cannot serve, the bare minimum is to not criticize devotee. And second is to chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if one follows these two principles, then one will go back to Godhead. That's all. It really doesn't matter whether you are temple commander or temple president or just cleaning the toilet or taking care of the shoes. Because ultimately all service is done by Krishna himself. We are simply humble instruments. That's another point Maharaj was explaining. The success of life is to just be an instrument in the hands of the Supreme Lord. It really doesn't matter what exactly the external nature of the service is. All what matters is the humility and the devotion. In the lecture in Pune, Maharaj was explaining in detail his yatra to Hampi many years back, Pampa Sarovar, with many devotees he had gone, and he was explaining about Shabri, how Shabri was serving the Lord in such an intimate way. She was taking fruits, she would taste. If they were good, she would offer it to the Lord, Ramchandra. And if they were not good, she would keep it for herself. I was explaining, you cannot do like this. You cannot say, oh Gopinath, it's nice mango, please. Authorities will send you out of the temple. So Maharaj was in detail explaining the life of Shabri, how she served Lord Ramchandra in a mood of intimate devotion. We find a similar story of Mukunda and Raghunandan also. Mukunda was the father of Raghunandan. And once Lord Chaitanya asked Mukunda, who is the father, he asked, Mukunda, you are the father of Raghunandan, or is Raghunandan your father? It's a very embarrassing question. You need to ask a father. But Mukunda understood why Lord Chaitanya was asking. He said, Raghunandan is my father, and I am his son. Srila Prabhupada explains that one who inspires one in Krishna consciousness, he is a father, even if he may be younger in age. So Mukunda considered Raghunandan to be his father. Of course, Mukunda Sarkar himself was a very exalted Vaishnava. He was the royal physician to the king, the Muslim king at that time. And once it so happened that he was giving some advice to the king on a raised platform. And one of the servants of the king came to fan the king with a peacock feather. And as soon as Mukunda saw the peacock feather, he remembered Krishna. It's explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that an advanced devotee, he sees anything in connection with Krishna, his ecstasy is aroused. So he fell to the ground, unconscious. And the king was surprised. He called some of the persons and he tried to bring back Mukunda to consciousness. When Mukunda came back, he said, what happened? Mukunda said, I have a disease, I have epilepsy. He did not say that this was bhava or ecstasy. The pure devotee never exhibits this, even if sometimes sometimes naturally they may come out, but a pure devotee tries to conceal them. Like our Srila Prabhupada was in Gorakhpur once and he was singing this song, Jaya Radha Madhava, and he went into complete ecstasy, and then he said, just everything is there in this song. There is Govardhan, Yamuna, Krishna. And tears started coming out of his eyes. These are the very rare instances in which out of his just natural bhakti of Srila Prabhupada just emerged. And also once Prabhupada was singing Parama Karuna Pahudui Jana Nitai Koti in Atlanta, and Prabhupada was just again in ecstasy said, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, they are so merciful. So once Lord Chaitanya, there's a story of how Mukunda told his son Raghunandan wants to do an offering to the deities. Same name, Gopinath. And Raghunandan, he did the offering, and then when he came, he saw that the offering, the bhoga, the prasad was still there. He said, my dear Lord, you have not accepted it. So Raghunandan, Lord said, I have accepted it. So Raghunandan said, but it's still there on the plate. If you have eaten it, how it is still there? The Lord explained, I have eaten by my glance. So Raghunandan explained, I don't understand this philosophy. So for the pleasure of his devotees, the Lord who had already accepted it, Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. The Lord can eat by his eyes. He can do anything by any of his senses. And he is everywhere. His senses are everywhere. So, for the pleasure of Raghunandan, even on an external level, everything was accepted. And when Raghunandan brought back the plate, and then later on, his father came back and said, Raghunandan, did you do the offering? He said, yes, I did. Where is the prasad? Prasad? Lord ate everything. Mukunda was thinking, I have been offering several years. Now Lord has eaten everything. So finally Mukunda requested that you do the offering again. And again Raghunandan did the offering. This time Mukunda, his father, was watching. And then as he was watching, the Lord again for his pleasure took half of the laddu, and he left half of the laddu. So, in the residents of Kulinagram, one very nice principle which I learned from the one of the Gaur Purnima lectures Radhanath Maharaj was explaining is how if a person has even the slightest connection with a devotee of Krishna, that is enough to make him into a devotee. Even if a person is very sinful, very degraded, but somehow or other, some connection with a devotee is what can arouse his natural Krishna consciousness. There are many examples in the Shastra. And one is a Muslim tailor. This Muslim tailor who had no sadhana, but he was Srivas Thakur's tailor. And because of his connection with Srivas Thakur, he could actually see the Lord, could see the opulences of the Lord. Similarly, that story of the milk-drinking brahmachari. You know, when Lord Chaitanya was having his pastime in Srivas Angan, the nocturnal kirtans were private kirtans, only with invitation card or whatever. Only limited people could come. So this brahmachari, he was, pure, he was very tapasvi, he was austere. He would simply drink milk. Not even fruits, just milk. So Lord, he requested Srivas Thakur that I would like to see the pastimes of the Lord. And finally, Srivas Thakur gave him a place hiding somewhere. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his kirtan. And then he said, I am not feeling ecstasy today. Is there somebody here who is not supposed to be here? And Srivas replied in a very clever way. He said, my dear Lord, there are no atheists here. There is no blasphemer here. There is just one brahmachari and he is very austere. He is simply drinking milk. And Lord Chaitanya became very angry. He said, what does he think? That just by performing austerities can he attain me? Get him out of here immediately or I will rip him to pieces. And this brahmachari, he was terrified, Can you imagine, if you are in a big group in a yatra and the leader of the yatra, he announces, that this fellow, please get out of here. And it's quite insulting to say the least. But this brahmachari, in his heart, he was thinking, I am really not qualified. actually I am so fortunate. Because of Srivas, I could see the Lord at least for some time. It was because of my offenses I am not allowed. He didn't take it negatively. He took it positively. That's another point yesterday Maharaj was elaborating, to take things positively. He could have said, what is wrong? These other devotees, they are eating, nice prasad, they are allowed. I am austere, why am I not allowed? He said, actually, so kind of Srivas, so kind of the Lord. They allowed me to have darshan for some time. And then he was about to leave, and Lord Chaitanya called him. And actually, Chaitanya Bhagavat explains that Lord Chaitanya put his lotus feet on his head. And then he told him, "O Brahmana, just by performing austerities, you cannot attain me. It's only by devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati." The Bhagavad Gita says that Lord is known only by bhakti, not by jnana, not by karma, not by tapasya. And in the purport to one of the verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's one verse, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyatha. In the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada explains that when some people say, Swamiji, you are correct and we are also correct. You are okay, we are okay. So we reply, no, we are alright, you are not alright. Now this may sound like being very proud, ne? Generally we say, okay, you are also okay, I am okay. But Prabhupada is very clear that it's not by jnana, not by yoga, not by tapasya. And if you see Srila Prabhupada, from the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he brings the word devotional service, bhakti. Because he wanted to emphasize the most important principle. And among all the items of bhakti, Lord Chaitanya was asked by Sarvam Bhattacharya, which is the most important? And Lord Chaitanya replied that the most important is to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This principle of chanting is of paramount importance, and it is so much emphasized, especially in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today morning also, and also in the lectures in Pune, Maharaj, as usual, was explaining that this principle of honoring everybody is so important. If you can learn to honor everybody and expect no honor in return, then one can become qualified to take shelter of the holy name. Seeing the presence of Krishna in everybody's heart can make one humble, and then one can take shelter of Krishna. Kali kale nama rupe Krishna avatar, nama haite hai sarva jagat uddhar. In this age of Kali, the Lord has advented in the form of the holy name. All the opulences, all the mercy of the Lord is contained in the holy name. Somehow or other we should pray to Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, to Gaur Nitai, that please give me the taste for the holy name. I will conclude with the story of Shivananda Sen's dog, which I think was discussed in the Gaur Purnima lecture also. Shivananda Sen was traveling with a group of devotees, and a dog happened to join the party. And Shivananda Sen was taking care of the dog. A Mahabhagavat devotee is one who sees everybody as Prabhu and himself as servant. And Shivananda Sen was thinking that this dog is also a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and my duty is to serve him. So he was feeding the dog rice. This dog was a dog. Nobody cares for a dog usually. You don't like somebody, you say, "Tu kutrya sarkha," you are like a dog, you know. But Shivananda Sen was taking care of this dog, and he was just joined the yatra. He didn't fill any registration form or anything, and he was cooking rice with his own hands and feeding the dog. And you know the story. I think Maharaj explained in the yatra that how Lord, when they had to cross the river, the boatman said, "I can't take the dog on the boat. This is not the practice. No, please take extra money. Take this dog." Looks like 500 years back or now, things have not changed. With extra money, many things can be done. They somehow crossed the river, and then Shivananda Sen had to stay back because he had to pay the taxes. So this dog was not taken care of. He left the company of devotees. When Shivananda Sen returned in the night, He was in great anxiety. Where is this dog? Where is this dog? And he sent 10 people to search for the dog. And finally, when he could not find the dogs, he decided to fast. He said, I am an offender. I could not take care of this devotee. See, devotee is one who, although not at fault, thinks I am at fault. Like King Yudhishthir, he never wanted the war. He gave a very simple proposal. They could be happy with 5 villages. But then he had to fight because Duryodhana was so adamant. But after the battle was over, Yudhishthir Maharaj was blaming himself. He said, 640 million people have been killed just because of my greed. I am at fault. This is Vaishnava. Vaishnava always takes blame on himself and gives credit to others. And always gives credit to others. This is always a Vaishnava quality. So Shivananda Sen was blaming himself for the negligence of the dog, which was not actually his fault. Finally, when they reached Jagannath Puri, they saw this dog had already reached. The dog was sitting next to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was feeding him coconut pulp, malai, and he was giving them the coconut pulp, and the dog was chanting Krishna, Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, like that he was chanting. And Shivananda Sen offered obeisances to the dog. Please forgive my offenses. I could not take care of it. And soon the dog left his body and he went back to the spiritual world. Now the point I wanted to make is the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada explained this is the effect of sadhu sangha. That even a dog attained the spiritual world. Prabhupada writes there that if a person engages in these 3 processes of chanting, dancing and feasting, kirtan, nritya and prasad. In fact, lecture is not mentioned in that. This is something needed to just increase faith in chanting. The purpose of all lectures, Maharaj explained one lecture, is to increase faith in the holy name. If I give very nice lecture, people are very impressed. But ultimately, if they do not take shelter of the holy name, it is not successful. So Prabhupada writes, if anybody engages in chanting, dancing and feasting, they will go back to God. And Prabhupada concludes. In the conclusion he says, all our devotees in ISKCON should become so pure that by their association, others are delivered even without their knowledge. I'll repeat, Prabhupada says the devotees in ISKCON should become so pure that by their association, others go back to Godhead without their knowledge. That means a very heavy responsibility on all of us to aim for that purity of heart. Because like I've been, last 2 days in Pune and Nigri, and even earlier I've been traveling with His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. And, just naturally people become attracted. I was last week in Rishikesh. There was an international yoga festival. And there were people from 30 countries. And there were many speakers. And His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was also given 2 days opportunity to speak. So many speakers were there. But naturally people were attracted. And it was not like an ISKCON program, or it was not that it was a special glorification for Maharaj. See, when you have something, purity, then naturally you can attract others to Krishna. It's not so much of an advertisement, but it's the natural love. When one's heart is overflowing with love of Krishna, that love of Krishna just spreads all throughout. So I was seeing so many, and then when Maharaj had one lecture in Ananda Prakash Yoga place, and this was for a small group, 40-50, and more than half of them wanted to buy this book, and they would come and personally talk to Maharaj, get the signature. Maharaj had more time there. I never had book autographed. I also took this opportunity. Maharaj was so much giving, to newcomers, to people who did not even know anything about Krishna. And just in a language, it did not appear like, it was from the yoga language he was bringing them to the devotional world. People who had come from, many of them would have come from material motivations, or many of the speakers were having impersonalistic backgrounds also. But just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to the place where Prakashananda Saraswati and his company were there. The same way His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj went to Rishikesh, there are many different kinds of sadhus. But by the association of Maharaj, I could see many of them were getting transformed. Many of them were taking interest and very greatly respectful. Because that's the way people make advancement, is when they respect a genuine sadhu. See, the Prakashananda Saraswati, his qualification was, when Lord Chaitanya was sitting outside, he actually lifted up Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and brought him to the dais. So here, in a similar way, you could see that these persons who were not exactly from Vaishnava background, they were rendering service in directly or indirectly, and opening the forum, to preach ultimately the same. And interestingly enough, in one of the lectures, Maharaj spoke directly about Gauranga Mahaprabhu's Jharkhand Leela. So something which one would not expect in a yoga conference, But Maharaj connected it so nicely with the topic, that it didn't appear out of place. Then Maharaj told the entire story of how Lord Chaitanya made, and the lions and the tiger and the deer embracing each other and even kissing each other. He spoke that also. And I was thinking this is a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is one who knows how to preach according to time, place and circumstances. Because when one is pure, he is in touch with the super soul, and the super soul gives him the intelligence how to give Krishna consciousness. So we hanker. Prabhupada writes we should hanker to become dogs of the Vaishnavas. So we should try to become dogs of Srila Prabhupada and their representatives. Ami tumhara kukur, I am your dog. Ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dhaye taba pache pache. I am a dog. I am a dog of Srila Prabhupada and a dog of Srila Prabhupada's servants. And I run behind them chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If we chant loudly, then Maharaj will come very soon. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In Maharaj's language, much louder. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shyamanand Prabhu very cleverly escaped. I do not know what the plan is. Somebody can find out, Maharaj. We'll have kirtan till Maharaj comes. I don't know.